What's going on, guys? Welcome to Car Audio Fabrication. If you've followed this channel for any amount of time, you likely know that I like to make car audio systems look as good as they sound. This is a project that I finished last year. This is Project Rebuild, and in this build, I made this beauty panel that goes in front of a subwoofer box that holds two 10-inch subwoofers. Now, for those of you that might not be familiar with this build, there's a subwoofer on each side, and there's a slot port right here facing this direction towards the beauty panel. So towards the end of that build, a lot of you guys were asking and raised the question, does the beauty panel impact the performance of this subwoofer system? Well, that's what we're gonna find out in this video, because we're gonna do some SPL Term Lab testing with and without the beauty panel. Let's jam, man. Before we get started, if you are new here on this channel, I do car audio reviews, tutorials, and build log videos. I actually did a full build log video playlist of all the different steps of creating this beauty panel and amplifier rack and installing all this equipment. So if you are new, make sure that you check it out. I'll put a link up in the corner. Now, I want to make some predictions about how I think that the beauty panel will impact the performance. First off, I think it's important to note that with any car audio system, if you're doing it for yourself, or if you're installing it for a friend, or if you work professionally in the car audio industry and you're installing it for a customer, it's really important to consider whoever's going to be listening to that system, what their goals really are. My goals and my preference on this particular system wasn't to set records and have the highest SPL score, or even to compete. I just want bass that will make my music sound great, and I want my car to look great as well. I just kind of want to get this out of the way, because I know there's always a lot of haters and naysayers online that will say, oh, why'd you install the beauty panel? You lost 1/10 of a decibel. That's stupid. Why would you do such a thing? Again, to me, the score doesn't really matter. I have more than enough bass in this vehicle. Because I use the Bit1 DSP, I actually have the ability to turn the subwoofer level down independently. And I find that most of the time driving around, I'll leave it at literally -9 or -6 dB. So I'm definitely not always cranking out the max performance. So with that being said, it's obvious that even if I'm losing a full decibel, honestly, I really don't care. I have more than enough performance when I want it. And again, I'm not number chasing, but it's still going to be interesting to find out how the beauty panel affects everything. Now, my prediction is that the beauty panel really isn't going to make that much of a difference. It took me a long time to actually make this build, and I drove around for quite a while with just the subwoofer box and no beauty panel. And once I installed the beauty panel, I can't say that I really noticed anything. But the meter doesn't lie. Let's see how much of an impact it really could have on the performance. So here's our test setup. I have my laptop set up with Term Lab Magnum software. This is the Term Lab itself from Wayne Harris Enterprises. Thank you to them for providing this. So the main control unit itself is then connected into the vehicle to the sensor. And there you can see the sensor is suction cupped to the windshield. So to perform this test, I'm going to have the whole vehicle entirely closed. I'll have the trunk closed, obviously. Both doors will be closed. All windows will be closed. I'm going to be sitting in the vehicle, and I'll make sure that I sit in a consistent position for all of the test. So this is my super legitimate test recording apparatus, and I did some testing before I started this video, and I found out that my box and vehicle are currently peaking around 34 Hertz. So what I'll be doing is playing a 34 Hertz test tone for around 3 to 5 seconds for each test. And I'm going to then record the peak SPL. I'll do 5 tests with the beauty panel. We'll remove the beauty panel and do 5 tests. And then I'll take averages and we'll compare the scores. All right, let's get started. All right, so test number 1, 137.7 at 34 Hertz. For the sake of keeping the video short, I'm just gonna breeze through the rest of these. Test number 2, 137.6. $137.6 again. 137.6 again. And a final again of 137.6. Obviously that was pretty consistent. Final score with the beauty panel, 137.6. Now it's time to remove all the beauty panels, and I'm going to show you guys just how fast I am at this. So here you guys can get a better idea of what was going on behind the beauty panel port on this side, and these pieces here are just to hold the beauty panel as a standoff. So we've got the beauty panel completely removed. We're gonna close the trunk again. We're gonna keep all the test conditions exactly the same and do some more testing. All right, here we go, test number 1. This should be interesting. All right, test number 1, 138.2. So there actually was an increase. Let's keep testing so we get a good average. All right, once again, 138.2. If I had to guess, I'm gonna guess that we're gonna keep seeing 138.2. All right, in that case, we got 138.1. Another 138.1. And our last test bumped back up to 138.2. So if we go ahead and average these 5 scores, we get 138.16. Overall, if you do the 2 averages, subtract one from the other, that is a difference of 0.54 dB. So it turns out having the beauty panel in front of the subwoofer box does actually have an impact on performance. Now that being said, it was only a difference of 0.54 decibels, which in the grand scheme of things really is not that much. Now I do find it interesting that the beauty panel did in fact have an effect on the performance, and I was kind of wondering why. Now I know a lot of people out there are probably thinking right now, well, it's because you blocked the port. I was kind of wondering about this myself, so I actually took a piece of wood, and since I have those standoffs on the front of the box, I actually attached the piece of wood to those standoffs so that the piece of wood was spaced the same amount of distance as the beauty panel to block the port. So it's not really blocking the port, it's just kind of in front of it. And I actually ran another series of tests and once again got the same score as without the beauty panel of 138.1, 138.2. Thus, blocking the port with the beauty panel actually doesn't have an impact on the score at all. Because my beauty panel surrounds the box, I think what's happening is it's preventing that sound wave from coming back, hitting the back of the vehicle, and then traveling back forward. So my conclusion is that the beauty panel is actually blocking some of that energy from traveling back into the cabin. But there's a lot of different factors going on here, and I'm curious, what do you think is actually going on and impacting the output of the subwoofers? If you enjoyed this video and found this test process interesting, I actually also recently did a video in the Jeep build that I'm working on where I tested different orientations of a sealed subwoofer box. There were some really interesting results. You can check that out here on screen. And also again, if you would like to see how I built this full build, you can check out that as well. Thank you to Wayne Harris Enterprises for providing the Term Lab Magnum. It performed really well in this video and very consistently. Also, a special thanks goes out to Brian, Ali, Jerry, EJ, Emmanuel, Rory, and Truman, and the rest of the Patreon support team. Thank you guys all so much for helping support the making of these videos. As always, my friends, design, build, and install.